All right, should be coming up. Headphone on as we anticipate. Just waiting, Sal. Any second now. Okay, I think we're live. You good?
I'm all set.
Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is That's a Crime. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal. We are back for another crime.
We shouldn't look forward to crime, but I look forward to crime.
I know. In this instance, I look forward to crime. And today we're breaking down the true crime story of the Hi-Tech ATM Scammers Withdrawal $250,000 in 2019.
Yeah, a case of greed. We'll get into that.
You always say that.
Yeah, if you're a criminal, you need to get in and get out. But what happens is people hang out, and they hang out, and they get caught. That's what happens.
They get greedy. So this is an interesting crime because it didn't happen on just one day. It was really between December 2018 and May 2019. A Romanian trio consisting of Marius Catalui, 39, Ioana-Christina Pavel, 33, and Szilard Farkas, 27. So 3 Romanians, Sal, come to the U.S. with bad intentions.
This just brings to mind the whole gypsy thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're not going to go into that, but I mean, are these gypsies? Is the whole what folklore about gypsies? Is that true? Is it not true? I'm an American. What do I know? Educate me. Why don't you?
Well, in this instance, this trio of Romanians went from one ATM to another across Virginia's Roanoke Valley and beyond, installing hidden cameras that captured the personal identification numbers, also known as
PIN numbers.
PIN numbers,
yeah.
More commonly known as, of their victims as they punch them into the machines.
Yeah, unsuspecting. You go to the ATM, you put your card in,
right?
You're not thinking anything. You put your card in, you put your PIN code, your password in there.
Yeah. What's your PIN code, Sal?
Oh, it is.
Wait, let me ask this trio.
Jason, you're not going to get much. Let's face it.
I gotta check that balance.
You need to look elsewhere. Yeah, you go in there, you do your thing, you walk away. You're not thinking anything. But what happens is there's a little contraption there, and you don't even realize it.
That's what's scary, Sal. I know this is probably an older crime. People have done it, but I believe this crew did it at a high level, very sophisticated. So at the very same time, just like you said, there is a skimming device, which is called not phishing. Phishing is online.
Yeah.
Skimming, actual device that's placed inside the ATM machine, recording the account information from the debit cards.
Yeah.
So, like you said, unsuspected bank customers get their money, do whatever, put money in, whatever they're doing, and they go about their business. They have no idea because they get their card back. It's not like, hey, wait a second, the card never came back. It's happened. Unsuspecting people. But what makes it really elaborate, Sal, is the fact that they have cameras recording you typing in your PIN numbers.
Yeah.
That's next level. Because I guess skimming it, they might get the card. They could try to use the card where you don't need a PIN, but this day and age, you need a PIN everywhere. Remember back in the day, you didn't even need to use a PIN. You just like
on an ATM card?
No, not an ATM card, but if you use it as a credit card.
Right? Oh, yeah. There are those times I use my debit card and I don't even put a PIN in.
That was that time. So they could do the skimming thing, but they wouldn't need the PIN. Well, this day and age, they need the PIN.
Yeah.
So it's a whole other thing now. And I mean, I know you heard of skimming devices before.
Yeah.
I have a personal story.
What?
I don't know if it wasn't an ATM skimming. I have a rule. If I go to an ATM, I usually go, not usually, always to a bank and use their ATM, and most likely inside said bank.
Sure. Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about skimming per se, but that's just my, go-to. You can avoid ATM fees.
Well, hang on, Jason. When I mail a letter, I don't even drop in the box anymore. I go into the post office and put it in the slot in the post office. Safer. So I don't mess around.
Much safer. Well, one time I was in Hollywood shooting a video. We were doing something for a potential reality show that never came about. Strictly Background was going to be turned into a reality show, yada, yada, yada. So we're doing this casting session and it's taking forever. And I start to realize I'm running low on mini DV tape. That's what tells you what time this was. It's probably like 07,
Yeah, that's
08.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And so I'm running low. I think I need another tape just in case.
Sure.
So I asked the other guys, is there anywhere around here? Because, you know, it wasn't Hollywood where there's lots of bustling things. It was just a bunch of like production houses.
Yeah.
And some guy says, yeah, there's a little, you know, little mom and pop shop, whatever, right across the street. I go over. Hey, super nice, young guy. You got any mini DV tapes? Sure. Sells it to me. And I wish I had cash. I wish I had cash, Sal.
Yeah.
Give him my card. But he swipes it old school, you know, that and there's
Oh,
like paper.
that's
So-
old school. Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, they're old school. They don't do much business. But on those things, dude, your card number's just there, right?
Yeah,
And this is pre-needing PIN codes to use it.
yeah.
Well, lo and behold, that evening, my card, a clone, bought something at Walmart in Torrance for $300.
You think they would have waited a little bit? You know?
Now they were on it and it didn't go above that. And I did. And this is a different era. I wasn't looking at my account every day. A few days later, I noticed this charge and immediately called the bank and said, you know what? I bet you I know what happened. And they believed me and took it off. However, Sal, that's pretty ballsy of them, pretty gutsy of them to do that, knowing that I'm just working across the street. And who else am I going to point to? I knew who scammed me. But since I got it had to be them.
Yeah.
That
Did you go
little
back?
shop.
Did you go?
No,
confront them or
because
anything?
once the bank said, hey, we're good, I thought that's just crazy. You know, you want to lay low and they could have hit it a few times. But so that was my one and only instance. But it wasn't a skimming device where you put it into an ATM.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
What did they buy from Walmart?
I'm assuming electronics. I
Okay.
wasn't sure. I just saw the price tag. You know, I'm
Okay.
assuming they probably wouldn't got a stereo or a TV or something. But
Okay. Because I once had an identity theft issue,
yeah.
coincidentally, after returning from a vacation in Maui. Again, could be coincidental.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But very soon after returning from Maui, an identity theft issue, or should I say, somebody used my credit card, specifically my debit card, to buy $700 worth of airline tickets in the Philippines.
Ooh.
So yeah, that was all rectified, but I had to wait. The account was frozen, the whole thing. They had to figure out what was going on. But guess what? When all was said and done, and I spoke to the bank rep, I said, "Will there be an investigation? Are you guys gonna go after them?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No,
It's not worth it.
we write it off."
Yeah.
Next, you know, there's no investigation, folks.
Yeah. There's 100,000 more behind you.
There you go.
So after encoding the information onto counterfeit cards, it's what they do, right? Mine was old school, but that's what
Yes.
they're doing. They're getting that information and they're putting it on another card.
Yeah.
A trio of thieves returned to the ATMs and used the stolen pins to withdraw cash.
Yeah.
And according to prosecutors, they took more than $250,000
Wow.
from hundreds of personal banking accounts. Because you got to figure, not everyone has tons of cash in their account, right? So that's what they're doing. They're really going there, checking balance. Oh, okay, this guy's got 25,000. Okay, this person has 5,000.
Yeah.
And then they're doing it old fashioned way, right?
Yeah. See, this is so different, Jason, from our previous crime.
Yeah.
That's a crime. The guy who ripped off Facebook and Google, you know, because
Yeah.
I mean, those are such whales. They're the
Giants.
whales of
Tech
the
giants.
tech world, tech giants. Yeah. I think most people, will kind of chuckle at something like that. Oh, you ripped off Facebook? That's cool, you know. But these people ripped off just common,
People.
ordinary
Yep.
working folk, you know, and that upsets me. If you're going to be a thief, go after the big dogs, you know.
Well, hopefully the bank has insured this money, right, to a certain percentage. So, but still, it comes back and it comes out of the customer side for sure. They'll pay for it some way. Even if they get their money back, fees will now be more or something.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it creates a ripple effect. You take some money out of the account. Now the account's in overdraft. Then maybe they have auto debits. And before you know it, you got fee after fee after fee after fee. So there's a lot of rectification to take place.
Yeah. And even if that happens, much like your Maui trip, what if it was, dire for someone? Like, hey, you had 16 things bounce. There's no money in your account.
Yeah.
Rent's due. Everybody wants theirs. So that's not even coming into play here. The pain and suffering and stress it's caused. It had to have caused some people.
Sure.
So they were withdrawing basically like $20 or $100 at a time, or whatever, denomination there, but it's not very much. It would take time, Sal. Even if it's like, okay, we hit the jackpot here. This person's got, 30,000. It takes time. There's daily limits.
Yes.
There's, so you got to think, okay, this card, I got to come back. I mean, it's a whole orchestrated mess, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't want to go back and be seen, putting myself, in the, in the shoes of the trio. You don't
Sure.
want to be busted. You want to keep a low profile, but yet you got to keep, you can't just go get one big. It's not like a wire to the Cayman Islands. It's just a little bit out of an ATM. And someone might get the whys of it. Like, hey, I just got ripped off. I'm closing that account. So a lot of things might, barriers might come up.
Yeah. And one of the issues in them getting caught was the amount itself. If they could have been like the coin thief that we covered in a previous episode
just
of That's a Crime.
Away. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit. But yeah, these people are in a certain area. This was a certain area.
Exactly.
I'm thinking if these people have such an elaborate scam, why aren't they just touring the nation?
That is a great point. They had a good system. They would, they would set up shop and then it hit it. Yeah. But keep moving. They just, not that it was tiny. I guess that, it's the Blue Mountain Range, Appalachian Mountains. It's that whole area and in Roanoke Valley in Virginia. So yeah, I'm with you. They probably should have been like gotten the RV and just kept going and never went back. Went back and just, hit the East Coast. But they didn't, for whatever reason, it was working. And until that is, according to police, spring of 2019, multiple jurisdictions became flooded with calls from people who reported unauthorized withdrawals from their accounts. It probably just started popping off because if they're hitting there's 3 of them, X amount of accounts in one day, people start looking at their accounts. And this is more recent. Like me in 2008, you might look at it a few days later, you're not getting notifications like you get today or even in 2019.
Yeah.
So this prompted the Roanoke branch of the U.S. Secret Service to begin an investigation.
So I guess it springs out of the local jurisdiction at some point and becomes federal.
Yeah, that we got a problem here. And this is money. This is affecting lots of people's accounts. And you know what? Banks have to be secure for people. If they're compromised, it's probably why when there's bank robberies, they're quick to flush it out. And, it's all good here. Nothing to see here. Your money's safe. Sure. If you're having all these people having this ripple effect, as you said, it's not good for business.
No. You want to think your money's safe when you put it in a bank. You want to think wherever you have any holdings, it's as safe as you can get it. Especially again, if you're just average folk, working class.
Yeah.
Maybe you have 1,000 in your checking. Maybe, you're keeping an eye on it. You're going to notice a couple hundred missing.
Absolutely. So a break came on May 5th of that year, 2019, when a customer at the Bank of Fincastle, whose wife had been a victim of the skimming, called 911 to report seeing a woman with long black hair and a baseball cap attempting to hide her face as she stood at a drive-through ATM. Now, Sal, I would say standing at a drive-through ATM is probably not the best way to blend in.
Pretty conspicuous there.
Yeah.
This person's not in the car.
And ducking face.
It's like there was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry David tries to go through the drive-through walking.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to stand out.
And you're also just trying to, you look like you're trying not to be seen like you're a celebrity.
Sure.
Long black hair, baseball cap, trying to avoid the camera. Something's not right. Not to mention you have robbed people around you. You're going back to the banks. People are on high alert. They're not dumb.
Yeah.
Not everyone. And they quickly call it in with a woman left in a blue vehicle with New York license plates. The car was later stopped for speeding again. So, you're killing me here.
Okay.
By a sheriff's deputy who saw a red bag being thrown from the window. So this is self-sabotage if I've ever heard of it.
Yes, Jason. If I can give a word of advice to criminals,
please.
If you are indeed a criminal, whatever you're doing, ripping people off, whatever criminals do, obey the traffic laws.
Yeah.
You might want to be very inconspicuous. How about that?
It may help. Now, inside the car, authorities spotted a long black-haired wig and a baseball cap. They also recovered $8,800, most of them in $20 bills, and 46 Panera Bread gift cards that were later determined to be encoded with the stolen bank account information.
Okay, I was laughing at the Panera gift cards.
Yeah,
Why are there Panera Bread gift cards?
And anyone who has more than two, it's a red flag. There's 46 of them. They probably went and just got those for $1 each. Take $1, take $1. These are all gift cards, or maybe $5, and they needed a card to imprint to use. Right?
Well, they're doing this is. Wait a second. The 46 Panera gift cards that were later determined to have been encoded. Oh, so they use the Panera gift cards as bank cards.
They use those as bank cards.
Oh,
and they probably bought them on the cheap.
And it's easy. Well, hang on. Most places you could just go grab a stack of gift cards because they're not activated.
So yes, true. Some you do. I know at Starbucks, I don't know if you can grab them, but you have to at least have to put a denomination on there, or you can do it online. So yeah, they may have just grabbed them and they probably had more than 46, I'm sure, at one point in time.
That was their hardware.
Yeah. So that was it. Again, listen, I'm not on the side of the criminal here. They did something horrible to lots of people. I'm just saying the criminal who's going to plot that sure makes a lot of mistakes. You do not need to be leaving the house with all 46. You're not, unless you plan on doing it all that day. And
well, one of the problems,
as you said,
one of the issues, Jason, is there are 3 suspects.
Right.
3 people involved, and we don't know how good their communication was.
No, we have no idea.
I like to think if you had a criminal empire at any level, you would have a tight ship. Communication would be key. Signals, messages, everything would be on point. Everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. You got a manager, you got an assistant manager, you got a supervisor, and they're all differentiated from one another.
They're all freestyling, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be the leader. I want to be the leader. No, I'm the leader. We don't know. We don't know how tight this group was and how communicative they were with one another.
That's exactly true. We don't know. Well, the woman was identified as Ioana-Christina Pavel and arrested on the spot. Szilard Farkas was arrested shortly thereafter, and Marius Catalui was arrested on December 17th, 2019 in Pennsylvania while attempting to flee the United States and board a flight to Ireland.
Ireland. Interesting choice, Ireland.
My homeland.
Why Ireland?
Oh, my grandparents' homeland. Yeah, I'm not sure. He probably, Pavel's arrested. Farkas is arrested. Hey, I'm out of here, man.
He probably just took whatever flight was available.
Yeah. Where are you going? Ireland? So Catalui was later charged after surveillance cameras documented him making repeated withdrawals at ATMs, in one case standing at the machine for nearly an hour.
Yeah.
Sal, if you stand in front of a convenience store for an hour, you look like a creeper.
Yeah.
You're at an ATM, people coming up. Oh yeah. Oh, go ahead. Or dude, that's this red flag city. You cannot hang out at an ATM machine. Oh, no, it's my other Panera card. Hang on a second. Hang on. I get these confused.
The only way I could think this could work, like, why would you? I went to an ATM a week or two ago in Burbank.
Yeah.
And there was a guy cleaning the machines.
Oh,
so I was like, oh, he's cleaning, he works for the bank, a contractor for the bank. I let him do his thing. I let him clean.
Did he clean? He did. With COVID and the pandemic, maybe that's the
okay. Case. So guess what though? He cleans. I go up. I use my ATM. I make my withdrawal. I leave. He's still there cleaning.
Dude, he scammed.
He could have been skimming.
Check your account.
I'm gonna keep checking.
And you've been hacked. Oh my god!
But that's where you let a person slide, is if they're cleaning. He works for the cleaning service.
Surely he's with the bank.
Yeah. You don't even think about it. You give him right away. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that. I'm gonna check my.
Yeah, you better. Hey, let's take a break from recording. Go check that bank. So authorities called this sophisticated means of theft. The skimming devices were placed inside the ATMs and were simply not noticeable at all. Yeah. So I've watched videos where these things are, they're kind of hidden, but if you touch the machine or your card where it goes in, the cover, the facade sometimes falls off. It's like that rinky dink. These guys went next level.
Yeah, because it's your average person, you see the little slot.
Yep.
You don't know that it's a slot on top of a slot.
Exactly.
You don't know.
It's this cover, there's batteries, and it's just getting your information. And then later they come by and take it, and you'd never know.
No way.
So let me move on here. Additionally, the investigation found that the pins were captured by small pinhole cameras, no pun intended, that were secretly installed near the ATMs, as we talked about. So the cameras and skimming equipment were then moved from location to location during the 6-month scam. So they would just set up shop, get a bunch of information, move on, and then go back with these fake credit cards to start withdrawing from the ATMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. They got way too greedy, and they probably should have kept this, kept this thing moving, like the circus. Just moved on down the road. It would have been much harder to find them.
It's kind of like gambling. Imagine you're in Vegas and you're on a slot machine.
And you're up.
Yeah. Oh, this slot machine. Oh boy, I won. I'm going to win again. No, it's probably not going to happen.
No.
If you won once on the slot machine, you're probably not going to win big again on that slot machine. You need to move along. And that's what happens. These criminals, they strike gold.
Yep.
And they keep trying to strike gold. And then eventually you get caught. Yeah.
They make a mistake too. They make a mistake. They get sloppy. She has a car. Ioana had a car. She decided to stand at the ATM, and that drew attention from the other bank customer. Had she been in the car trying to avoid the camera, hey, this thing could have kept going. And I'm glad it didn't. I'm just saying, thank goodness they make mistakes. Greed sets in. I got to get to 10 banks a day. And you start thinking so far ahead, you just get sloppy.
Jason, let me tell you, I'm just going to share this with you and our listeners. Only you and our listeners.
Oh, okay. As opposed to everybody else.
No, only you and our listeners of That's a Crime. I once got a gift card to a gym. It was a gift card to a gym, and the gym had a retail store.
All right.
Okay. So that was great. It was like $100 or so. I went to use the gift card. I used the $100. It didn't acknowledge that I used it. I went back. I used it again. I went back. I used it again.
God.
Jason, once I got up to $1,200, I said, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop right here. You start to get into the morality of it. You start to, well, what if I get caught? I said, that's it. It's done. It's over. I stopped at $1,200.
Oh my God.
This is, by the way, this is
allegedly. You were young.
I was young. This is allegedly. This maybe did or didn't happen, but
should have checked that balance.
But yeah, the point is you have to stop at some point. Stop before you get carried away, because that's when you get caught.
You may have pushed it a little bit far.
Who knows how far I could have gone?
No, 1,200. Guilt starts to set in.
I'm like, yeah,
if I'm busted now, can I pay this back?
Yeah, exactly. What can I pay back? And what can I justify? Like, it's a big company. It's a big company. But then after a while, you're like, I
thought it was a $1,500 gift card. I wasn't sure. Sorry about that. Well, Assistant U.S. Attorney Coleman Adams stated, it takes little thought to imagine the experience hundreds of individuals endured when they realized money had been stolen from their accounts. Absolutely, Sal. And this is why they came out to these people very swiftly and took them out.
Well, hang on, Jason. We're going to get into their penalties. I mean, did they
took
get
them out
any
of
penalties?
their scam? Took them out of their scam. But you're right. So here's what happened to the Romanian trio.
Yeah.
Pavel was released on bond in 2020 and has since returned to Romania by federal immigration officials. Prosecutors asked that the charges against her be dismissed without prejudice, meaning they could be reinstated in the future. Sal, I don't even understand this.
No, you know what? Again, I'm not one of these hard on crime guys, but you know what? They come to this country, commit crimes, and we just like kick them out, and that's it. There's what penalties had to be paid other than what, being kicked out of the country? Had
been in jail for a little while. Maybe she came clean and showed. There's a lot of things we don't know. Did she share the whole elaborate plan and say and showed real remorse and said, "I'm going to Romania and rip my visa for U.S. away," or "I'm never coming back"? I don't know. Or she had a really good attorney, but yeah, she got off light. So it would seem.
It's one of these things where maybe she did the plea bargain where if you turn on your partners,
turn on this guy, this guy.
Yeah.
Well, here's Farkas. He remained in jail since the arrest up until his sentencing in 2021. So he was serving time, right?
Yeah.
And then he was ordered to pay $247,500. Sorry, $247,566. So nearly the amount of $250,000,
Wow.
just shy. He had to pay that restitution to the banks. So it's like, yeah, but she was also in on it. And so was Catalui. So yes, she might have just pleaded right away. Like, yeah, it was really Farkas. He's the mastermind, or Catalui, but he had to pay that. And then there's Catalui, who pleaded guilty to bank fraud and aggravated identity theft, and is currently in jail awaiting to be sentenced, which happens on January 7th, 2022.
Wow.
Now, he was also caught trying to get out of the country. I read that he showed remorse too, but again, we don't know how they all fit together. We don't know why the sentencing was so different. They should have all been thrown the same punishment, right?
Yeah,
you would think so, Jason.
No, Jason, I know you know enough crime to know that people can turn on each other, get the plea bargains.
Oh, yeah.
One person gets off, the other person faces all the stiff penalties. In this instance, it seems like Catalui is taking the hit for all of them.
And Farkas on the financial side.
Well, let's be real here. You really think he's going to end up paying almost $250,000 back to the banks? How are they going to recoup that? What are they going to do? Like auto debit his paychecks? What are they going to do? I bet
unless
you,
they were sitting on cash. You're probably right. Maybe he had the lion's share still of what they stole from, and this was just this time. Who knows? But you're right. Maybe he doesn't pay it all back. But yeah, Catalui took the biggest hit, and then down the line from there.
Yeah, January 7th, 2022. I almost feel like we should do a follow-up. Let's keep an eye on this case and see what happens in January of 2022. At least let's see what happens with Catalui, because I bet you we're going to see something about because here's the problem. You rip off banks and it wasn't millions, right? If it's millions, yeah, that's pretty big. But still, when you look at what banks go after, what they send their investigators after, when there's time involvement,
right?
I bet you the banks will never see that money again. They're going to write it off as an insurance write-off. And Farkas will not pay all that back. And Catalui, we'll see what his sentence is, but he's not going to end up paying that back either. These people will be let off fairly easily with what we would call a slap on the wrist, I would say.
And one already has.
Yeah, one has gotten off, basically.
Yeah.
And you know what? You or I couldn't have gotten off on this.
No.
Because they can't just send us to another country. We're stuck here. So if you or I would have done the same crime, believe me, we would have paid a bigger penalty than Pavel.
Yeah. So that's it. That covers the Hi-Tech ATM Scammers Withdrawal $250,000. So Sal, what have we learned going to the branches to use ATM? Yeah. Also, I should have pointed this out earlier. When you do your PIN, I've always been instructed to cover your hand anyway, as if someone's watching, as if. So if there is that camera, someone installed some sort of, pinhole or a ring camera or some tiny security camera, even if it's, they wouldn't have had it. They would have had the card intel, but they wouldn't have had the PIN.
You know, a trick I do, Jason, you want to know a trick that I do is, so I don't want anybody to see my PIN, of course, like everybody else. My wallet itself. So I use the card. I have my wallet and I literally put my wallet in front of my hand and I put in my PIN with the wallet covering, because at the same time, there's also sort of a little social thing where you're not trying to let the cashier know that you don't trust them.
Right.
You're not saying, hey, cashier, I don't trust you. But at the same time, you want to be, a little covert and do your PIN. So that's what I do. I allow my own wallet in one hand while the PIN in the other hand is what I do.
Probably not going to have a camera or a phishing device inside a store.
It's probably not a Target.
It usually happens at gas stations or ATMs because they're isolated. You're alone. Gas stations, there's lots of places you could stick something. ATMs for sure. So, but it's a good habit to be in. Also, if you see something rickety, just trust your judgment. Like if you touch it and it falls off, like do not insert card. That's why I like the touch pay now, right? Even better.
How does that work?
Well, it's a lot of the cards, if they have it, you just kind of get it near the device and it does it.
It dings it.
It dings it. So it's there's probably going to be a skimming device for that. But right now it's feels a little bit safer.
Yeah.
And then hide the ATM. So that's what we've learned. Check your accounts. Look for interesting or odd or things that you didn't charge and you didn't authorize. Contact your bank immediately. I do hope, Sal, that everybody received their money back without fail. The bank had to know this is a black eye on them, all the banks, right? And they, oh my gosh, they were victim to this and this time frame. So everybody's getting a full refund, because that's who really paid the price here.
Yeah. I don't like knowing average folk. I have a thing about average folk. I consider myself sort of an average guy, so average folk getting ripped off, not a fan of it.
Not cool. So that's all we got. We've had a lot of great crimes recently. Please check out any of the archives we'd like to cover. What do we cover on That's a Crime, Sal?
Well, my favorite to this day is our premiere episode, and that it covers D.B. Cooper, the famous crime from, I believe, was it 71? 1971.
The hijack heist.
Yeah. No suspect ever caught. A lot of speculation about who.
Money's still out there.
Money never reclaimed. Yeah. If you love crime, you got to learn about D.B. Cooper, because this guy was like a genius. Yeah.
Well, we've had lots of great episodes, Lindbergh baby kidnapping, and many others. But I was saying, in general, what do we cover? What's our scope?
That's a Crime covers everything from a misdemeanor to a murder.
Well done. And check out the new YouTube live channel.
Yes,
streaming live after it airs. Then the re-air comes out when the podcast version comes out, because we like to edit the podcast version, trim it down. But the unedited version is the YouTube live version. So a lot of fun, a lot of great stuff happening here. And yeah, thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, be sure to subscribe to all of our podcast. Avenues? I'm not gonna say channels, because I'm gonna say, okay, subscribe to all of our podcasts. And then subscribe to all of our YouTube channels that correspond with the podcasts.
Yeah.
Subscribe to That's a Crime on YouTube. Subscribe to Let's Talk Cobra Kai on YouTube, and subscribe to Let's Talk Movies on YouTube.
Yes.
That way you are in the know when we have to send out notifications through YouTube. Yep. YouTube themselves will send you notifications, but you have to subscribe. So make sure you are on board with everything that Just Curious Media is doing right now.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for listening, and please be sure to subscribe to That's a Crime wherever you get your podcast. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on our social media, which is at Just Curious Media.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcasts and visiting justcuriousmedia.com. All right.